26 Board of Ed meeting. We're going to start this meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we have a big group of guests for the Board of Education meeting today. To start off with a wonderful student presentation. Our guests are here from the Griswold Elementary School, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Campbell to start the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. John Campbell, principal at Griswold. We are really excited tonight to present something that our kindergarten team, along with our technology integration specialists, are doing. Kindergarten is an amazing year of growth with our students. They come in at 5 years old, and what we are expecting them to do is quite impressive. Purposeful play is a really big part of it, but it's not just going out and playing. There's a reason. And there's a lot that we have to do to get them to 5th grade and beyond. So we've got 6 really, really excited kindergartners that are going to show us some really cool stuff. Along with that, 2 of our kindergarten teachers, Mrs. Testro and Mr. Miller, are here. Our technology integration specialist, Ms. Durante, is here, and then our Dean of Students, Ms. Frobe. I'm going to turn it over to our kindergarten team, and they're going to talk to you more about what our kindergartners are doing because they're quite impressive.
Good evening. Thank you for having us today. While the focus of this presentation is on technology, specifically coding, we would like to share the impact of our approach that goes far beyond of what you'll see on the surface, especially for our kindergarten students. Play-based learning, as Mr. Campbell shared, is a vital and part of our academic day. And at this age, learning is most meaningful when it's active, hands-on, and playful. And coding activities are designed as exploration and problem-solving games rather than the traditional technology games that students would play. Students build, they test ideas, and they learn through trial and discovery. This playful environment encourages curiosity and persistence while allowing students to naturally develop the early computational skills. Although coding may appear to be a technology activity, it is also a powerful way to build collaboration, self-regulation, and critical thinking, skills that we will support students throughout their learning journey.
Because these activities are collaborative and hands-on, cooperation is essential. Students must communicate with one another, share materials, take turns, and work together to solve challenges. They practice listening to peers, negotiating solutions, and supporting one another when something doesn't work the first time. These experiences strengthen empathy, patience, and positive peer interactions, skills that are critical at the kindergarten level and beyond. Coding tasks also build important executive functioning skills. Students learn to plan steps in order, focus their attention, remember directions, and adjust their thinking when a plan does not work. They practice flexible thinking, problem solving, and perseverance as they debug and improve their solutions. These foundational skills support learning across all academic areas and help students become more independent learners.
So in kindergarten, we start talking about what programming is, and we talk about who's smarter, a computer or a person. And we go through that until they're in 5th grade, because we want them to know that though it seems like computers are taking over and that they can do anything, it's the people behind it who program them. So kids become programmers, they learn what a programmer is and how they're really the ones to write the instructions for the computer, and what they're telling it to do is what the computer or the robot, in some of our cases, will actually do. We introduced the term coding, and it's the language that kids use to program. But with our kindergartners, even in first grade and second grade, we don't start with an iPad app. We start with our bodies. So in the beginning, and the kids will demonstrate this to you too, we play a game called Code Hopper, where they literally put puzzle pieces down, and we talk about how the order that all of this is done is so important, and they program themselves. We then move on to another game. Oh, you can skip that one. With a robot. And again, this is something that the kids have brought to show you too, and how they can learn directionality and how they program the robot. Do you see you up there? Yeah. How they would program the robot, and it does what they teach them to do. And it's not just for the sake of programming, it's for lots of different skills. We eventually move on to 2 different apps, 2 different coding apps, but we haven't gotten there quite yet. And the reason why we do it is because there are so many benefits. So we talked a lot about logical and computational thinking and how breaking apart problems is so crucial. So they take a big problem, how to get somewhere, how to get a truck somewhere, and break it up into pieces. Lots and lots of executive functioning skills, which the 2 prior teachers mentioned. We look for patterns. We talk about structural thinking. A lot of persistence and resilience is involved. When you program something, it doesn't always work the first time. We talk about algorithmic thinking. We talk about those soft skills, communications, working together, teamwork, and it's huge. So today we brought 6 kids with us, and they are going to show you some of what they've learned.
So working with the robots, I have 3 students from my class. We have Matthew with us today. You could come on up, Matthew. We have Hadley with us today. She's going to help out. And we have Liliana with us today. Thank you for coming to help out.
And showcasing Code Hopper, we have Ava. Come on up, Ava. McKenna. And Rowan.
But they want you to help them too. So we have some robots which we'll put on tables. But some lucky few of you, you can code hop with the kids and build your own codes. So I hope you wore your sneakers. Nope, robots. Let's spread it out. These are yours that we need to put on this.
Who's the code hoppers? This is code hoppers.
So you want to start taking these apart?
There's room over here too. Somebody wants to join Hadley.
We make one big one together. Ooh, sorry.
What do you think, Rowan? Do you want to work in your own group, or do you want to join up with the girls? You know how to do it. Do you want to show them what to do? They can help you. Okay. What should we do first? Well, that would be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, do you need something before it's
Okay, two time. Got
So
it.
wave your arms times 2. Okay.
So that's our presentation, and hopefully you could see not only is it very fun and engaging, our kindergartners have learned a ton. They're really, really fantastic at it, and it does require a lot of complex thinking. Did anyone have any questions for any of our kindergartners that you didn't get to ask them?
Favorite to do.
What of those events is your favorite one to do? Does anyone want to answer that?
I like to do the code hopping one. I like to do the code cars. I like to do the code cars. I like to do the code hopping. I like to do the code hopping as well.
Could we give them a round of applause? You guys were fantastic.
So before anyone leaves, I mean, I don't know if you smelt it as you were hopping around, but just one more agenda item before we move on. Just a special recognition. The month of March is the Board Member Appreciation Month, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bigigny.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment, if we all could, thank our Board of Ed members. All these are volunteer positions that sit in front of you. Without them, the school district could not be where it's at. They spend their time, they make decisions that help support the district, from hiring a superintendent to the budget to policies, and that keep the district going. So it's all for volunteer. There's no monetary reward that they get, just the fact of what putting their time back into the community. So if we could have a round of applause for the Board of Ed. And seeing that it is Board of Ed Appreciation, there are some cookies that you're welcome to have, but you're also welcome to a cupcake if you'd like a cupcake. Please help yourself. And thank you to all of our K students for being here. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah. So we're going to take a short break so that board, you may also indulge in some sweets as well. Yeah.
Please help yourself.
All right. Just to notify you, we're going to add an item to new business. So I'll need a motion later on in the meeting. Moving on to reports and correspondence to the board. So we'll start with reports from board members. Any board members have anything to report out? I'll start, although I saw a lot of familiar faces there. I think the majority of the board was there on Saturday. Went to go see the Frozen play, which was absolutely spectacular, blown away. Every year I say I want to go, and there's a conflict. Now I'm really disappointed the other years that I had missed. Live band, I mean, the program itself, it's like you're walking out of Broadway. So I just want to say congratulations to all of the staff, on stage, behind the scenes, the musicians. It was spectacular. The talent is unbelievable.
I was there Saturday night, and I was just so happy to see the amount of people that came out for the kids. It was really a great show, and I'm going to continue to go to them. They're awesome. It's an inexpensive night out, and you get to see what the kids are doing, and it's really, really fun. And I love musical theater, so awesome. Great job.
Well, I'm a huge fan, but you might have already guessed that. But I said this at our Board of Finance meeting that was right before this. We had some really incredible support from our community in Berlin. We wouldn't have been able to do what we did without the sponsorships and the ads that we got from parents and businesses in town. So, that's just really appreciated.
And all the past theater kids that still make it a point to go. I think, my son unfortunately his flight didn't land in time to make it to this year's performance, but he was, really upset that he couldn't go. So just the connection they still feel years after being in theater. I mean, that says something about the program, so.
All right, any other board members? All right, going on to the report from the student representatives.
All right, to start off, on February 26th, Berlin High School's DECA team attended the State Career Development Conference, an event that helps students develop both their career and leadership skills. The conference consisted of competition, networking, and overall community service.
On March 18th, the distinguished members of the ROCAPA National Honor Society will be celebrated during their induction ceremony. Among the honored students are those who exemplify excellence in the social studies field. Their dedication to scholarship and service has earned them a place in this esteemed society. Congratulations in advance to all the newly inducted members on this significant achievement.
Also on March 18th, juniors will be taking the SAT. They've been preparing for this test in their respective English and math classes. Good luck to the juniors.
This past weekend, the BHS Performing Arts Department put on their phenomenal rendition of Frozen. Besides it being an outstanding show, the musical aids in showcasing the diverse talents of all students at BHS. The tickets were nearly sold out, demonstrating the students' and directors' effort. It also helps to raise money for the music scholarships as well as future educational trips and productions for students.
After a win in the state championship, our Redcoats football team was honored with their rings. This is a great honor for Berlin High, and thank you to all who donated and showed up for the team. After the Breakfast of Champions on Saturday, the best football season in Redcoats history will come to an end.
Along with football, all winter sports in Berlin are coming to an end. Most recently, the Lady Redcoats basketball team fell to Notre Dame on Saturday. Our men's Redcoats basketball prevailed at Stonington, moving on to the next round of states tonight in Danbury. Berlin's spring seasons will begin soon with baseball, softball, track, lacrosse, golf, and tennis. Go Redcoats!
On Sunday, March 29th, the class of 26 will host Senior Feud, a game show style fundraiser to raise money for All Night Grad. Join us to watch teams of seniors face off in the fun-filled showdown of quick thinking and big laughs. Tickets can be found online. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much. And then moving on to committee reports. No ad hoc met prior to this meeting. Anything from ad hoc want to share? No?
Couple things, we're gonna go over those, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
curriculum was at beginning of the week.
Yep.
Or last week.
Yep, and we'll get into that. We're gonna talk a little bit about the calendar and then also an
'Cause it
additional
go-
textbook.
Okay.
Books,
And then,
Any books.
right, any other reports? Okay. Correspondence to the board.
No correspondence this evening.
Okay. So next we'll move on to audience of citizens. You're encouraged to share your thoughts. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for consideration?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And second?
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, carries 7-0. All right. Adding it now. Well, we have a couple of motions in between for new business.
You can add it now, we can do it for the first, or we can put it in the middle, wherever you'd like, as long as you just
Okay.
add it. Yep.
We'll just, all right, so in the new business, it would be letter H. We're adding a retirement, Denise Marshall. So when that comes, I'll need a motion. But you can add that to the agenda. All right, so for new business, adopted 2026-2027 Board of Education budget update. Mr. Bignigny will report on the status of the adopted budget.
At this time, we've presented to the Board of Finance. Julia and I presented in Ashley upstairs with all of you there. And now we had our meeting tonight with the Town Council and Board of Finance members. So the budget moving forward, the next steps will be the town either taking action, and at that point it'll be maintaining it the same or a reduction. They don't actually increase it at that point. So that'll be the next step towards the budget before the referendum. I mean, I could just note that there is and I give the date here. We did publicize it in the letter, but we do have, sorry, let me get the date here. So the annual town budget public hearing is the 31st, and it's at McGee Auditorium. That'll be a time for the presentation by the town and the Board of Ed to the entire public.
Anything else?
Nothing to add to that. And the referendum date is April 28th.
Okay. Moving on to the proposed school calendar, 2027-2028, which you can find on Schoology. Public Act 19-195 allows boards of education to establish a firm graduation date for students in grade 12 for that school year, which at the time of establishment provides for at least 180 days of school. In accordance to the Public Act, Superintendent Bignigny is recommending that the board set the date of the 2028 Berlin High School graduation for Friday, June 9th, 2028. So do we have a motion?
I'll move to adopt the 2027-28 Berlin Public Schools calendar as proposed and set the 28 Berlin High School graduation date for Friday, June 9th, 2028.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I second.
Perfect. And then all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Vote carries. Oh, sorry. Oh, I am so sorry. Man, I just want this meeting to be over. No, that's fine. Open. Yep, go ahead. Open to discussion.
A few meetings ago, we had some families come in to talk about the Muslim holidays, especially the Eid holidays. And I just wanted to say that I would support that. I think, they took the time to come in, talked about some very important points that they made. I understand that by doing that, it opens us up to other holidays, but I think we should at least think about, and I'm sure you have, but think about those holidays as being pretty important to put in the calendar, or at least one of them.
So
Do, yeah, no, go ahead from our
if I could
curriculum.
talk a little bit about what we talked about at the curriculum committee the other night, because I do agree with Jen. I mean, I really would love to find a path to yes on this. It was challenging and/or I'm not sure if it's there. So, I mean, I'm hoping that maybe as a board we can think and see if there's anything we haven't considered. And it's not just necessarily for Eid, it's for, you know, trying to consider anybody who wants to observe a holiday and how can we make that a little bit easier for them. So we did kind of go back through the calendar, and again, we're just specifically talking about 27, 28. We looked at our professional development days because those are the days that we'd have flexibility. And I think they're all maybe one anchored in something.
Yes.
Yeah, so, like in other words, we have two on the April 25th, May 23rd. Those are for referendum, first referendum, and then if needs be, second referendum. And we, you know, went there because we got caught not doing the second referendum one year. Not caught, but it didn't work out for people. We have, oh gosh, the Election Day is November 2nd, and that's something. And then the only other one is Friday, December 3rd, and I don't think that was anchored in anything other than just kind of spreading it out in a nice 3-day weekend and towards Christmas or what have you. So having said that, that was one of the challenges, was trying to think about where would we create this additional day. And again, would love to, if anybody has any other ideas or thoughts about where that could maybe happen and be considered, I would love to have that conversation, because again, I would love to try to make that happen for all the special observances days as much as possible. But having said that, the second tier part of that conversation, and is that an agenda item, was really.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, it does. it does relate to, but
Yeah.
we would have to go to a vote first.
So it's okay.
I mean, we can.
Well, I'm gonna
it's in the same topic.
So I'll talk about it
yeah.
in theory at least. So the idea was, one of the things we talked about is if we can't give these days, and a lot of the things we heard from the audience of citizens that day is how much stress it creates for the students to want to get their work done while they're trying to celebrate the holiday and their family and their religious observances, but was to try as minimize or actually eliminate any need for assignments to be done or due during that time period. And so we did talk about it, and the school is going, or the Board of Ed is going to really pay a little bit more attention to make sure that people recognize the observances of the holidays. There is the second sheet that was on the agenda. It's a nice big sheet that Kara's now holding up to really remind all the teachers of these dates and try to plan around those, so that, you know, the students on the excused absence days also aren't worrying about, for their religious observances, aren't worrying about getting schoolwork done. So if I misstated any of that, Jamie's not here to tell me, so, okay.
Yep.
But I do want to point out our list. And if you look at our list, it's quite extensive. And to be honest, my family is both Christian and Jewish. And so we have to make accommodations. Like if I would have almost, I wouldn't be able to go to school or work or anything, because when I start to look at all the different holidays that I have to recognize, that adds up to be extensive. And since the schools really are a separation of church and state, it should just, we're not recognizing any particular religion. We have spring break, we have winter break. And when I know we can't keep track of demographics, but the reality is when we start to look at who's calling out, how often for certain religious, the percentages are low. And so when we start making accommodations for one religion, you could better believe you better make it for everybody else. And it's not to be, we want to be able to help people, and that's why we have this list here, so that people can recognize, okay, this might be coming up. But when we start taking days off for one, it only makes sense that you start taking off for everybody else. That's my only concern.
So my concern is also, we made exceptions for the voting days, and to put that above something like religion, I think it's an interesting twist. I mean, these students, I think about it as if it was my holiday, and if I didn't get it off, or my family didn't get it off, And I just want to be sensitive to that, to students who, yes, we make accommodations. I don't know what those would look like, but you also have to think about the stress that if, they're in classes that even if there are exemptions from taking a test the next day, they're still thinking about that test as they're trying to celebrate with their family.
I understand it because like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we have to fast. There's
Absolutely.
all of those things that go into it. But knowing that it's on the calendar, my kids know they have to make the accommodations necessary to be able to deal with the fact that society isn't necessarily religious. And so that's why when we're looking at this, when we're looking at the special observance days, we're just bringing it to attention to the teachers to say, hey, look, if you're going to have a test, maybe have it before they're going to have this holiday so the kids don't stress out. So, I mean, I appreciate that. That helps the teachers, it helps the students, it helps people to be, to acknowledge the different religions that are out there. But I don't know. I think you're opening a box where, like, once you say yes to one, you have to say yes to all, because you're not being fair to all concerned.
And also
But
on
we-
that topic, we have all received an email about Veterans Day as well. So now that also opens up the Veterans Day as well.
And just to go back to the referendum, because I just remember the discussion before, and our schools are used for voting sites. Our schools, our elementary schools. So I think the major driver around not having school those days was safety. Even though that there was police presence, that's a lot of people going in and out of the building. Yeah.
I was gonna say in regards to as you said, if we accept one, we have to accept everything. I would suggest that rather than doing it all at once, because I think that's what was being suggested. Like maybe if we take one day off, we might have to take the whole list, all those days off. I was gonna say as year by year, we can slowly take it off as we accommodate for other things. It would be easier in that sense, rather than just taking it all at once and trying to adjust 1 year specifically. We could slowly start off with taking one holiday off, then the next, then the others.
So just for clarification, these religious observances, these days the teachers are aware that these days are coming up. So these students are not, it's not an excused absence? Is that correct? It is an excused absence. So I'm not sure what the issue is then. If they're getting an excused absence and we're still observing their holiday, why are we having this discussion?
On Christmas Eve. I might not like that because I celebrate Christmas, and so I might not like having to work on Christmas Eve, even though, when I had other jobs, I worked on Christmas Eve.
But they're able to be absent,
But
right?
It's the work. Instruction goes on even when they're absent.
Right, but if we're-
They're excused, and we're asking teachers not to assess during that time. When
Okay.
instruction would still take place, so they would miss the instruction for that day and have to learn on their own.
I think that's a pretty fair, I think that's a pretty fair deal. I mean, to give them an excused absence, and, I mean, yes, there's still instruction going on, so the stress of them missing that, but they're not getting counted as being absent, which is pretty fair. No? I don't know.
Coincidental or not, but one of the Eid days does fall on a half day, a professional development day, and that still gives students an opportunity to be at school and other students who might be celebrating the opportunity to miss less instruction. You're not going to hold a test on a half day, but teachers get the professional development and the remainder of students will be in school and you're not missing as much instruction time. So that might have been almost a lucky coincidence, but it definitely is something. And the other day is on a weekend in this calendar, so that is just something to keep in mind.
I did notice that Eid does fall on the weekend for one of them, so I wasn't sure. It seems like the dates aren't consistent, like they're not always the same day every year, so I was gonna ask if it falls on a weekend every year, but I did look and next year it does not.
So, or this year it doesn't, and next year it does, one of
Both.
the two.
Yeah.
Calendar, it goes back like 10 days.
Okay.
So that's why the dates like fluctuate. Like this year it started off February 20 something, or like that Eid is like March 20th, while last year it was like 10 days before. In that
Yeah,
sense.
so-
And then when it comes to like the instructions and stuff, personally, I try not to skip school because obviously you miss instruction. 2 weeks ago, I was like sick, so I did miss a day. And so because of that, the teacher can't change their instruction schedule based off of one student. They have to account for, no matter how much effort they put, they have to account for everyone in the class, which is obviously reasonable. And therefore I missed a very important topic, and I was very struggling for the next 2 days. And previously, in like the past couple of years, even though when it comes to Eid and I've missed that day, even though teachers try their best, they can't change their whole schedule, curriculum around one student or two students. So therefore, it's like the next couple of days I'm struggling trying to wrap up because I do take honors classes, and it's hard to make sure that I'm caught up on schedule with all of my classes that I missed that day alongside the next day's classes. So it's more of the struggling of it, and it's like I'm thinking about how I'm gonna schedule my time throughout the day when I'm with my family, and it's kind of hard to do so when I'm supposed to be just celebrating.
The major driver in the conversation with the curriculum was that list is going to be more prominent for teachers to review, to be able to obviously not be able to change all instruction, but to kind of relieve some of those stresses definitely during those times of the year, so that you don't, and the other students don't feel, missed time. Understandably, is missed time in some way, shape, or form has to make it up, or you kind of catch up in a way. So going back to the motion, Gina, then, okay, and then we'll go into a vote.
Let me just share a couple
Oh,
things.
yep, absolutely.
So we did reach out to everyone in our DERG to see what theirs, and the majority of schools do not offer the majority of the holidays, the major holidays in each religion. Because we did ask each of them, we pulled up all their calendars. Doesn't mean it's right. It's just, I'm just talking about what practice is in districts similar to ours.
The consideration after the families and students came to speak. It was listened to, it was thought out. It might not have the ideal solution, but we're driving towards some sort of common ground solution in an effort to, honor. Anyone else have anything to?
I do think it's important to realize that even though the list of holidays and observances is there, that it probably will impact projects and, the due dates for projects and any assessment kind of things, but it's very difficult to, as you mentioned, change a whole schedule around based on the fact that it's a holiday. And so that's a difficult thing for teachers to do, because a lot of times it's, you want everything to follow in a certain order. So that's difficult. And I know as a conscientious student when I hated being out too and having to miss something. So I know that that's a tough decision for families to have to make, to choose whether or not they come to school on their holiday or not. So I think it's something to consider.
Yeah, can I just sum up?
Yeah, go.
Everything Melissa said, I agree with. In committee, we talked about this, and we brought it tonight. We wanted to give it its proper, and I wish there was a way I could figure this out. And I just don't know what it is, but we thought it was important to bring it up because, and it's not just Eid, it is all the holidays. I mean, we'd love to do that, and I don't know what that would ever look like in the future. But again, I thought it was important to really demonstrate that they were heard, and we really want to do this, but I want to do this. I'm just not sure how to do it, so.
Is there a way that, with regard to instruction, I know that when you're not here, obviously you're not getting the instruction. Is there a way to get that beforehand? I know that still gives you that on your mind while you're celebrating with your family, but if you had a teacher give you a heads up as to what they were gonna do the next day that you're gonna be absent, would that help too, or would that just make it worse for you?
That is a solution that I have tried in the past, like going like maybe like a week or a couple of days before, because usually I try to not have excess work the week of, and so I try to go like at the end of the previous week or like beginning of that week. But most of the time, teachers don't maybe have that
Have it
schedule
ready yet,
entirely like ready yet, or it's more of like a group thing where it's also like curriculum based, and it's like teachers who can, they always give it. They're very understanding of that, and I do greatly appreciate it, as does the rest of the community. It's just that, again, there's things that they can't do in regards, like they don't have the entire schedule packed, because obviously with like a week, you can't tell what's going to happen in a week. So it's very hard for them to like, I guess, have a clear schedule. So with that, I guess most of the time they don't have the schedule, and then also in regards to like group projects and group
Yeah, it's not
curriculum.
conducive, yeah.
I remember last year, because my sister was a senior, her finals became like on the day of Eid, and so what happened with her is that she missed the prayer, she missed going to our friend's house, she could barely come to our cousin's house, and like stayed for like 30-20 minutes before we had to go back home. So it's like she wasn't able to celebrate, and she was very disappointed about it, but it was what school required, so.
And I hear you about, the DIRG group of schools, but I think it would be great to see us, as we pride ourselves in being inclusive, to be a leader in this.
Anyone else would like to add? Okay, so we already had the motion, first by Gina, second by Christina. Open it up to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Just hold it. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so carries 6-1. And in kind of continuation, once again, you saw it in Schoology, including special observant days with the school calendars, and we touched upon it already. I'll do a motion, and then we can go into any further discussion. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt the 2027, whoop, got the wrong thing.
Yep.
Move to approve adding special observance days as proposed to school calendars as a second page, beginning with the 2026-2027 school calendar.
All right, anyone second?
I'll second.
Okay, and then open for discussion.
I mean, I think we kind of covered it, but
Yeah, so just to add from before, so the observant days were always at the bottom right corner of the calendar, which is like a tiny little paragraph in the smallest possible font. Yeah, and not abbreviated because, or else the calendar would be on 2 pages. So the full list is the one on Schoology, and that's the one that would be presented to all the staff, have access on our website, and more prominent.
If it's a hard copy, it'll be on the back of the calendar. If it's digital, it'll be 2 pages. You'll have the calendar and have that full page.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Right, vote carries 7-0. And then we're gonna turn it over to Ashley Dorsey for the facilities.
short one. The bid work for the BHS flooring project is still in progress. Since our last meeting, Katie and I met with the architect and the designer for a product and color selection for the flooring. We selected VCT tile in a similar color palette. Pull testing for that product will start this week. There are 4 areas throughout the building that have been identified for testing, and that basically involves removing the existing flooring, preparing the surface, laying down the new floor, and seeing just how it takes with the new material and the vapor barrier. That test is going to take about a week. The Town Council approved the bid for the architectural design for the McGee Science Labs on Tuesday, February 17th. The next stop for this project is the Board of Finance. At their meeting tomorrow, March 10th, the town requested a transfer for $27,765 to the PBC account to cover the cost of the contract. The value of the contract is $120,340, which includes a 10% contingency. Pending the approval of the Board of Finance, the contract will be executed by the town in the following weeks. The Griswold asbestos abatement started today during the second shift and will continue through Friday, March 27th. The contractor will abate 2 classrooms a night. During that time, persons under the age of 18 will not be permitted in the building. Conversations regarding the anticipated electrical shutdown have also begun. This summer, Griswold will be without power for approximately 4 weeks. They will complete the electrical upgrades that are required for the HVAC project. We met with the electrical contractors last week to identify critical areas that will require generator powers. Summer staff will be relocated during the shutdown. Schedules and locations will be determined at a later date. And site work for the chiller pads will also restart in the next couple of weeks as the weather starts to change over. The Hubbard HVAC project is also still moving forward. The contractor remains primarily in the hallways and storage areas. However, they are expected to transition into the classrooms in the next couple weeks. Site work for the exterior chiller pads are also expected to start in the upcoming weeks as the weather changes. And that's all I have.
All right, and the next one is the policy review and revision with ad hoc meeting previously. This is just a first reading. There is no, vote.
So the 2 policies you have in front of you, that we've reviewed them, they're the first reading. If you look at the first one, it really was a change in the board policy and procedures of line item transfers. They've repealed that, so now we're going back to adjusting a policy back to the way it was prior to when the state mandated the change. And the second one is really just requiring ongoing annual training and continuing education for all school nutrition program directors, managers, staff to meet and exceed the education and training hours established by the USDA professional standards requirements. Really saying that we have to make sure that our staff is trained and has the latest knowledge of what the USDA is requiring. So those are the 2 policies we have that are really just to align with state policies.
And those will follow up with a second reading at a future meeting. Moving on to textbook recommendation for adoption with Wit and Wisdom. So we have Lori Jerpin and Kara Watson to. Yep.
Is Lori?
Because I've
All
never
right,
talked
so-
about reading curriculum before.
I know how she's feeling, so.
So, just very briefly going over this, most of you have been part of this journey with us. We had a legislation that we had to adopt a certain program from kindergarten to 3rd grade. We did that, and we're in the process of doing that right now. And those are the resources that we're using listed at the bottom. Wisdom from Great Minds, Phonics to Reading from Sadler and Hegarty for our phonemic awareness. So this is the part, just as a reminder, that top part is the language comprehension and the bottom part is the word recognition. So the word recognition are the pieces that go along with phonics and phonemic awareness. How do we read, like getting kids to read. The top part is reading to learn, right? So we want everyone to be able to read something and figure out what we should do with that. So those that rope together makes a skilled reader. And when we teach, that's how we kind of make that progression. We start with the letter sound until we're up to where kids can comprehend what they're reading. And so we're recommending, since right now we're using K to 3, that we now move on to add grade 4. Although it's not something that the state is requiring us to do, it would be better for kids to have that continuous curriculum as they go through the elementary school. So I can imagine that next year we would probably be talking about grade 5. And so it's really about getting kids to read really tough books. And so we talked about this a lot with the reading teachers. It's so nice to see all kids talking about the same topic. You know, so 3rd grade, one of their topics is, what's one of them? The ocean. And so everyone's talking about the ocean, and they're talking about, and then they're doing the sky and observations, and they're talking about Galileo and all kinds of things that are going on. And it really is a nice way to build a community within a classroom when they have that. It's also that they're learning a lot. It's so funny to hear little kids talk about topics that you and I probably have to research on, and I'm not saying anything negative to anyone, but it's just all of those details that are in there. It includes art and music, and one of the reading teachers said she thought the kids looking at art was going to be a disaster. And she said those kids were just amazing when they look at the art and what they're able to talk about with the art. And I know that when we had our training, that was the one that we as adults were all like, "Ooh, we don't know what we're supposed to say when we're looking at the art, like what's right and what's wrong." And then the structure really pulls in a lot of different books. In K through 3, there's also what they call geodes, and so we have those. Those are small books, small group books that they use. And then we do learn how to write. They will write narrative, they write informative, argumentative, they have grammar lessons. So all of that is incorporated into Wit and Wisdom. And so grade 4, these are their topics that they would be doing. So A Great Heart is just such a cute module. It has them figuratively looking at the heart. So, you know, there's a book called I Love My Dog. And so that's there. And then they also have what does the heart do physically for us? So it incorporates both of those in there as they go through that. Redcoats Are Coming is a unit that they already teach, so that's just a transfer into that. Extreme settings are tornadoes and all of those lovely kinds of things, which goes along with a weather unit that they have in science. And myth making is something that would be new for them, which is exciting as well. Any questions, or anyone on the committee want to talk about anything that we brought up when we met?
Wonderful is that the kids are, no matter what level they're at, they're all starting at this high level to be able to learn. And it really gives them an opportunity to be able to discuss the information so everybody feels connected, they're learning, they're growing, so they're being challenged. And then they work their way down as they need scaffolding or supports. And so, especially since they're already doing it up to 3rd grade, to continue it, it's just more support for these students. I thought it would be a great thing to be able to continue, to be able to help these students grow. Because we know that if they don't learn to be able to read and to write by grade 3, they're going to struggle. So this, if they see that students are struggling, this system is going to be able to continue to support them so that they can reach those goals.
Oh, yes.
If that is anything anybody would need in order to feel like they can vote on this, but we got to, me and Melissa Creasy got to take a look at them, and they're pretty interesting. You should check them out on the way out, even if we do vote. So
And the one thing I would add, as Lori pointed out, with the modules at each grade level, there are strong connections to our science and social studies work, which the day is very busy, and we find that sometimes those go a little bit to the wayside. So as the teachers get more confident, students have more exposure, we're hoping to be able to more intentionally connect some of our other science and social studies work into what's happening in literacy to make it more meaningful on that end too. So some natural connections.
Questions? All right. Do I have a motion for consideration?
I move to adopt the textbook Wit and Wisdom by various authors and published by Great Minds.
I'll second.
All right. So Brian and second by Jen. Going into a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Vote carries 7-0. And then this is our retirement of Denise Marshall. Oh, I thought you were adding something else. Okay. So,
They're running away.
I know. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve retirement of
Denise.
Denise Marshall, effective July 1st, thanking of her service to Berlin schools and wish her the best in her retirement.
And do I have a second? All right. And anything we want to add? I mean, I'll add, as both of my kids have had the pleasure of working with Mrs. Marshall and just being in the library and, being invited in the classroom as well. Spectacular experience. I know my son was always super excited to be there early so he could switch out his book prior to having library at the end of the week. So just a great bond that my kids have made with her, and I wish her the best.
We also had Mrs. Marshall and Miss Marshall for several years. She's done fantastic in the library. We're definitely going to miss her. I love how she really knows what each of the kids enjoy, and she's very good at guiding them in a direction if they're falling off of whatever they're currently reading. She does very well at redirecting them. And my daughter has one more year there, and we have some more coming through, so we're really going to miss her. We wish her the best.
All right. So we'll go for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Vote carries 7-0. We will also have to have someone make a motion to go into enter executive session, inviting Mr. Bigny.
I move that we move to executive session, inviting Superintendent Brian Benigni for further discussion.
All right. Second by Jen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Vote carries 7-0. And we're going to stay here.
We just create a little room there.
Okay.
Should take no more than 5 minutes.
All right. So we are entering executive session at 7:16.